Okay, today's update is not a fantastic one. I am in the hospital and just got my kidney stones, 3 kidney stones removed, and all of that went well.
So she's about ready to be discharged.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for that.
You still have to take out the IV thing.
Yeah, I still have my IV, but I got dressed. Todd's like, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Get me out of hospitals. Had it with hospitals.
Oh, but the hard news is that Abigail did not make it this week. So, if you've been watching the other videos, you know that her belly was opened and they were going to try and close it the last Monday. But Sunday, her vitals and stuff were super low and she was not good to move to get the CT scan she needed to help the surgeons.
She was in too bad of a shape to move.
One of the things that happens when you're septic and your blood pressures are bottoming out is they give you medications that squeeze down all of your blood vessels, and it means your hands and toes don't get oxygen. So her toes were black again, and they were really struggling to keep her pain under control because pain medication also drops your blood pressure. And they were like, the most pain meds we can give and keep her blood pressure okay. And she was not comfortable. She was in a lot of pain. We had asked her to do this when she was uncomfortable, and she did this. If she was awake, she did this. Monday, they had called off the surgery to close her belly because she was so bad. And the doctor sat us down and told us that there was a new fungus
infection.
But it turned out to be something super rare.
This was so rare that the infectious disease doctors had to Google it to figure out what it was.
They think that she probably had it in her lungs or her intestine, and it was being protected by her immune system. But we were giving her 4 antibiotics and killing off everything, including the good stuff. And she was on steroids, and that depresses your immune system. And they think that it opened that and gave an opportunity for this bug to grow
and progressing.
And it was a really bad bug. They said really we have very little information about it except anecdotal stories. And the only people that survive it are people that's all that's wrong with them. So they basically told us that there was no hope for her to get better and to leave the hospital, and that we should start thinking about palliative care. We went through Monday night, we called all of our kids and did FaceTime calls with everybody and talked about it. And Monday night was really hard. She was in so much pain. So much pain. And the doctors Monday night were like, we really need to push surgery's hand because her belly wasn't closed and it was bleeding really bad. Okay, just got my IV out. But they don't have my prescriptions ready. It's a weird space having Abigail gone. To pick back up on how she left us. Tuesday, they decided they had to do something with her belly to decide if that's where the bleeding was, but she needed a CT scan first. So Todd went with her.
Yeah, they wanted to see if they could see where the bleeding was coming from. It would kind of help them make a better decision. So one of the things they were afraid of was with her blood thin, bleeding in the belly. If they just opened her up without it, she could just bleed to death. Right.
Which we'd already kind of done that once, and we don't want to do that again.
So it was a pretty big production to get her down to the CT.
At this point, after talking to the doctors, we had put a DNR on her chart for no chest compressions and no multiple shockings. We put a DNR on so that if she was leaving, if she was going, we didn't stop her. But we allowed them to use medicine and fluids. Todd talked to her as he went down and was like, "You're okay."
I kept talking to her and telling her we loved her and she's okay and she's doing a good job and we're gonna get this CAT scan done. And
they read the report down there and went from there to surgery to try and close her belly.
Because they found out that the bleeds were not coming from somewhere like in the pancreas. It was more or less surgical type bleeding or medical bleeding, they call it, which is kind of a weeping.
Yeah.
So they took her to surgery to do that.
And Todd told her, "I'll see you
at the room." I told her I couldn't go with her to surgery, but I would see her back at the room.
So meanwhile, we were talking with one of our docs that had been put in charge of like kind of big picture stuff for us about what to do, because it wasn't a surgery issue and now it was this fungus that she'd gotten was causing the bleeding. And with fungal infections, what they do is they take all of the plastics and lines out because they get seeded with the fungus. And they have to keep them out for long enough to treat the fungus. And this, like, she needs her lines to live.
That was the problem. That was the big problem with the fungus. That was the big starting problem.
Yeah.
You know? The other challenge with the fungus was the medications that they have to give her to treat the fungus destroy the liver,
which was already in a bad shape.
And so
So we were discussing what our options were. Do we keep waiting? Do we take measures to let her go? It was so hard. And part of me just wished that she would just go on her own. We'd given her a blessing that told her to let us know that her and Heavenly Father would know what to do and that they needed to let us know so that we would know. And we'd been talking in her room and they came and said, "She's coming back to the room. We need you to go in the other space.
While we get her all set back up.
So we had only been in that space a few minutes when they came running back and said, "She's not doing okay. You need to come." And I walked into her room and it was chaos. It was like a code. They weren't shocking her or anything, but it was extra measures. And I just said, "No, stop." They could have kept her alive on machines, but
for a while longer.
But that's not what we wanted for her. They could not keep her blood pressures up.
And keep her out of pain.
We just knew that she was trying to go. And we didn't want to stop that and keep her in pain because there was nothing we could do to fix her. Her kidneys were broken, her liver was broken, her intestines were broken, her pancreas was broken. Fungus had affected her lungs and they weren't working. The only thing, ironically, that was working well was the heart and her brain. They'd managed to fix her heart with that open heart surgery and it was doing a good job. So we let her go. We held her hand and we talked to her. Liberty, Kimber, and Katie were with us. Arrangements have been made for her body and we've purchased plot for her. We're trying to figure out
that process,
that whole thing, the afterwards. But so that all happened on Tuesday and I needed my surgery. Yesterday was Thursday. I'm just gonna take it easy through the weekend. The girls, all 3 girls will go home on Tuesday, but I have follow-up care next week. Then we'll head back to Alaska to figure out what's next.
All right.
We don't know what we're doing. Like, to go to the boat without her feels really hard. But life does go on and we know that. And this will get easier. We saw the miracles. We saw God's hand. So, just had my last blood pressures taken. it's a roller coaster. We've never lost anybody like this before.
Right.
We don't really know what to expect as far as how we're gonna feel and what's gonna happen. Todd feels like we're not done on the boat.
I don't think we're done on the boat.
I just am struggling with going and doing without her right now.
And it'll have to look different a little bit.
Yeah, now Liberty's alone with us. She's just, like, that's a harder dynamic on a boat, to have an only child on a boat. So we'll definitely, if we go back to boating, need to be with
Do more with buddy boat and stuff. Try to find more buddy boat stuff.
kid boats.
So
I guess this is the last Abigail update. We don't even know where to really go with the channel from here. We have about 10 episodes of footage from the Bahamas and leading up to parking the boat for hurricane season that I haven't edited yet. We want to edit it and share it so that we have it as a family. I have one finished, so that'll go probably next Sunday. And I'll see what I can do about getting the other ones out while we figure out
everything else.
what it looks like to be without Abigail.
A big gaping hole in our family.
Yeah.
We know she's in the right place. We know who she's with. We know that we will see her again. We believe our families are eternal and that they're forever. And that Abigail will be part of our family forever.
Forever. Like, we don't believe in a place where you go sit on clouds and play harps and sing songs.
Like the cartoon.
We believe in eternal families, and that the people on the other side of the veil that we can't see are busy, and they're working in our behalf, and they're working to
And it's a
do
next phase of
things.
life.
But families are important there too.
Yeah.
That's our
our belief and our
soul
background,
and our
okay.
solace. Like,
Yeah. Very much so.
she's
Yeah.
not gone. I've had her visit me and talk in my head to me. She told me the reason that she made it through those other surgeries was because it was fun, and they said she couldn't, so she did it anyways. Which is so Abigail. But it just got to be too much. She's around. Her presence will be felt. She's too big of a personality and totally nosy.
That's true.
She always knew what was going on and where everything was.
Yeah.
So we have just appreciated you guys so much. Your generosity in enabled Todd to be able to not be working. I don't know what it looks like to keep doing updates or just start filming again while we're in Alaska. We just don't know. So thank you. We love you guys. You've been so much to us through this. We had no idea how many people of faith were in the sailing community. Really, we felt like there was more people who didn't believe than believe. We've been afraid to share our faith in that we didn't want to alienate anybody. But our faith is part of everyday life.
Right.
And maybe it's important that we keep sharing that, because we know there's so many of you. It made us feel so good to know we aren't alone in those feelings.
Yeah, you guys have been a rock for us for sure. We've really appreciated it. Love you guys.
Bye.